getting ready for the Christmas holidays. So, but we are recording this like we record all of the forums, which means that they're available on the website. So if you've missed something and you'd like to see previous ones, feel free to do that. We'll do that with Nicole's presentation today. So she'll have the opportunity to share her thoughts, I'll have some conversation, and then we'll go from there. So just to let you know, our next forum in January, we have a lawyer coming who's going to talk about legal issues. Very critical issue, obviously, for people to know about. I think it's January 23rd. And then in February, I'm really delighted, Bonita, who is with us today, Bonita Gordon, is going to share her expertise as an RN, an NP, nurse practitioner, with lots of experience in neurological issues, and particularly with stroke, but dementia as part of that. So that will be our February presentation, so I'll focus on the medical side. And then in March, Dr. Domer, Timothy Domer, will be back with us again. We've had him several times. And Dr. Domer is just one of those kind of country doctors, you feel like, that you just really trust his wisdom and stuff. So that's our schedule. I'm excited about the forums, all of them, and particularly excited today to again have someone from Pima Council on Aging, our partner. They have, of course, been very helpful for us in funding our Memory Cafe program. Nicole has worked with that. Nicole did the training for that program. And Nicole, we're just glad that you're back with us again. So thank you so much for coming down today.
All right. Thank you for having me out. And I won't read this entire slide, don't worry, because most of you are somewhat familiar with this, but just in case you are not, I'm Nicole Thomas. I'm the Community Education Specialist with Dementia Capable Southern Arizona, and we are part of Pima Council on Aging. And an overview of what we're going to look at today as far as holidays, and we'll have a couple breaks in here for, I said kind of like discussion breaks, but with this group, I think we can kind of just open it up and have comments if there's anything as we're going. Some potential challenges I'll start with, just to kind of keep in mind. Then we'll get to the holiday considerations and tips. I have a decorations section, planning for meals and social events, things like that, and some activity ideas. So those are what we'll be looking at today as far as holidays. And I have two different slides for kind of considerations for potential challenges. One for the individuals living with dementia. Research by the Alzheimer's Society has shown that over 50% of people who are living with dementia find Christmas to be the most isolating time of the year. So a majority of people living with dementia find Christmas actually to be the most isolating time. Most of us associate Christmas with great things, and this is a really happy time of year, and just kind of keeping in mind that for not a lot of people that's not necessarily the case. Some potential challenges, those depression symptoms, some of them can be seasonal. I think in Tucson, we probably have a little bit less likelihood of some of the weather-related, and sunlight-related ones, but those depressional symptoms can still set in sometimes in the winter, including, of course, sadness, loss of interest in activities, less enthusiasm for activities, in particular for people living with dementia, because they're just not as familiar necessarily. Things aren't coming as naturally as they used to. They're not able to kind of automatically do some of the things that they used to be able to do. Being reluctant or overwhelmed by social opportunities, being in places, going to a mall. We like to go to the mall and walk, and that's usually maybe a relaxing little activity. Going to the mall this time of year might not be a relaxing activity at all. So sometimes it can just be really overwhelming environmentally. How many people are there? How much noise is going on? How much movement is there? Stronger sense of loss sometimes. On the individuals living with dementia side, sometimes if they are remembering or missing people who are not here anymore, and sometimes not remembering that they're not with us anymore, and kind of looking for those people, really missing those people, either knowing or not being aware that they are not alive anymore. So that can sometimes be a struggle. Not recognizing people who are coming. If there's, family out of town, big gatherings, sometimes not being familiar with the people that they are seeing can be a challenge. Some traditions may seem overwhelming and trying to do them, dangerous to continue depending on what different ones, there's hesitation from them or from the family. Is this something that we can still do? Is this still safe to do? So just some things to kind of keep in mind as we're going through looking at some of these. And then I also included a slide on the caregiver side because we want to also be aware and look for those symptoms, those depressive symptoms, the loss of interest, the increased sadness, and being aware that it can also affect the caregivers, either trying to recognize it in ourselves or keeping an eye out for other caregivers. And is this maybe something that we should address, or things like that, things that can happen with caregivers, additional responsibilities and feelings of obligation. Being a caregiver, a lot of the time, there's already that overwhelming feeling of obligation, and I have to be on all the time, and I should be able to do this, and I should be able to do everything is already an issue. If you're also adding on, people are gonna be visiting, or I'm gonna be making the dinner, I'm in charge of it's not the fun time that it might be. It used to be, I really enjoy cooking for people, and now it's like, oh my gosh, people are going to come over and I have to do all this stuff while I'm trying to do all of this. It's not the fun activity anymore. So being aware that can be an issue. Fewer opportunities for socializing and participating in activities in general. That is kind of year-round a lot of time for caregivers. They just don't have the time or the opportunities to socialize as much as they might like. This can especially be kind of in the forefront of their mind during these times because there are so many fun activities that I'd like to do, and my friends are getting together for a gift exchange, or they're doing this at this place, and I'd really like to go watch that, It's a Wonderful Life, but I don't know if we'll be able to stay through that entire movie. Well, maybe we won't go. So it really can be coming up a lot. Fewer opportunities for just downtime, that relaxing, recovering, that rest periods. If there's a lot of activities going on and they're trying to keep up and keep all of the traditions and all of the things that we usually do going on, there's not that needed rest time. Not necessarily the recovery time afterward either, keeping it as a lot of us, if we are hosting family or we're the one in charge of that meal, a lot of times after everyone leaves, it's like, okay, yes, that sigh of relief, like, okay, everyone's gone, which is not the case. There's no, okay, now it's over, I can recover from this for a caregiver because they're still in that full-time caregiving role. There's no like, okay, let me lay back and recover from doing all of this stuff. Changing roles can be really difficult, whether it's a spouse, a parent, and my parent used to be the one who always was in charge of this, and this was their tradition. Now they're not able to do it. Am I going to take it over? Who's going to be doing this? Kind of especially struggling. That's another one. Those changing roles are difficult any time of year, but it can just really come up a lot with some of the traditions that we have. Also, the stronger sense of loss sometimes, whether it is the traditions. We've done this every year. We've done this every year for 40 years, and we're not able to do that. And I'm kind of, I have a sense of loss for the tradition itself, or that ambiguous loss for the loved one. They are still here, but they are not the same person that they were in previous holiday seasons, that I remember doing this thing and this thing. There is that sense of loss. It's not the same grieving as when someone passes away, but it is a grieving loss process of that person as they used to be, and just kind of being aware of that. So the first kind of little discussion break, and we'll take just a couple minutes to do this. What are some signs that you can think of to kind of spot, try and be intentional about spotting worsening signs of depression, whether it's the person living with dementia or their caregiver, or things that we might do to offer support, whether asked for or not, whether we're going to think of something if they say that they need it, or things that we can offer that might be helpful. Yeah.
You might not accept invitations that are extended to you.
Turning down more, turning down the invitations more frequently. Mm-hmm. Withdrawal, yeah, that's that kind of withdrawal from activities and socializing. Mm-hmm. Anger. Anger, irritability, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even physical illness.
Yes, yeah. You're worn down, you are more likely to get sick. It takes you longer to recover because you're not able to, rest and bounce back like you used to. Yeah. What are things that we might do for either caregivers or those living with dementia to kind of support them during this time? Offering respite care, yeah. Mm-hmm.
For caregivers, is that what your question?
For either. Mm-hmm. And the respite care could be for both too, because it's, you're giving them a break maybe for a couple hours, but I'm going to plan a fun activity, and this is also something enjoyable for the person living with dementia, so it can definitely serve two purposes, I would say.
I think just slowing it down, slowing down the whole process, that people feel rushed or confused. And
slowing things down, just giving them that time to process and stay involved and not trying to rush them. Mm-hmm. That's a big one, and it will actually come up in a little bit as we're talking about this.
Being there for the caregiver so that they can express what they're going through.
Yes.
A lot of times people won't do that unless you're there and you say, I know this is tough. What's bothering you right now? Yeah,
offering the support, and preferably more than just kind of those empty, in passing, if you need anything, let me know, bye. Yeah. Yes, definitely just being there and being willing to listen and trying to be as non-judgmental as possible, because a lot of times when caregivers do, it's just, oh my gosh, yes, you know what, I have been feeling this, and this, and people are like, oh, you really shouldn't feel that way. Like, okay, thanks. You're like, yes, yeah, yes, just absolutely just being there to just listen can make a big difference. This next slide, if you've been to some of my presentations before, or seen the Dementia Friends presentation, you've probably seen this. I wanted to throw this in just to kind of, as we're going into some of these tips, I like this image as we are thinking about how dementia affects people, how to communicate, what to prioritize kind of things. So all of us have a bookshelf in our brain, and we're kind of born with that bookshelf that has a couple books in it. Some of those built in, like fight, flight, fright responses, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. Those books, we know a little bit, those things are in there. Everything that we are learning throughout our life is a new book that's kind of stored on those shelves. The top shelves would be short-term memories, things that have happened recently, things that we've learned recently, behavior control, language, math, facts, dates, things like that. The bottom shelves would be long-term memories, emotions, nonverbal communication. So if we're thinking about dementia as kind of a person who is walking up to our bookshelf of things that we have learned over our life and just rocking that bookshelf, what's going to fall away first are those books toward the top shelves, those short-term memories, recent things that they've been told, that they've learned, behavior control, language, math. Those things are going to fall away sooner. What is going to stay intact a lot longer are those long-term memories, emotions, nonverbal communication. Even in the late stages of dementia, Emotions are still intact. Nonverbal communication is still intact. They are still going to be able to tell whether or not they understand the words coming out of your mouth. Are you smiling and you having a pleasant Merry Christmas, whether they understand that you're saying Merry Christmas and that they understand that was a pleasant tone of voice, they're saying something nice, you're smiling at me, you're being friendly, that the feeling behind it, the nonverbal communication and the feelings are going to still be understood. So really focusing on that more so than which activities are we going to do? You know, it has to be the perfect activity and everything has to go exactly as I've planned it throughout the day. And, you know, what if I say the wrong thing or I put up the wrong decoration? Creating those positive emotions, those positive feelings is much more important than kind of how we're doing it, kind of the details of how we're doing it. So just keeping that in mind as we go through some of these. My first couple examples are extreme, and then we'll go a little bit into more reasonable ones. So the decorations, you know, what we might intend, we want to kind of look at some things with fresh eyes, basically. A lot of the decorations, things that we're looking through, you know, has anyone seen the movie Elf? Is this, okay. That's my favorite movie. I watch that usually multiple times a year. This year, they came out with a, Home Depot has an elf figure available that's like 6 feet tall and talks, and it is the most terrifying thing that you have ever seen. It's like, so sometimes we're like, you know, we're thinking, hey, what a fun, you know, oh, this would be fun to get an elf figure. And this is terrifying whether or not you have dementia. If you have dementia and this thing starts talking to you, yes, that is going to be a problem. So going, you know, if even the little cute little Santa door cover, you get that late at night, you walk out into a room and there's a light shining behind it and someone is like staring at you, and that's going to be startling, you know. So these are the exaggerated examples, but kind of going in with those fresh eyes, and it's really going to depend on the person too, the stages, how they react throughout the year to other things. Some people are, you know, going to be bothered much more by things than other people. But looking at some of these decorations with fresh eyes, just thinking about, you know, how would you respond to these decorations if you were, you know, already agitated, less familiar with things around you, easily startled, processing things more slowly, experiencing kind of a blurring of reality. I'm not sure sometimes when I see it, was that a movie that I watched, or was that something that really happened? Was I thinking about that, or did that actually happen? Confusing time and place, having difficulty adjusting to changes. A lot of us already have difficulty adjusting to changes, you know, unexpected changes, and dementia ramps that up as far as how difficult it is. Experiencing vision and balance changes. So again, some of these things are not going to be an issue for everyone. A lot of people with dementia will have kind of some vision challenges, some balance issues. So how safe you are on some of these, if someone is very easily startled, you're going to do things differently than someone who really isn't having those issues with being easily startled. If they're having vision problems, you might do things differently than someone who isn't having any vision problems. So some of these are going to be really individual, but that Snoopy, that's a little Snoopy that I have, but it's like motion activated. And if you're, you know, you walk into a room and you're easily startled and all of a sudden Snoopy starts playing bells and like that is really, you know, that's gonna really startle you.
You have that? You have that?
I do have one of them, yeah. It usually gets the batteries out pretty quickly. Yeah. The door cover that looks like it's going somewhere else. If I step through this, if I'm having the vision problems or that kind of blurring with reality, it's like, can I walk into this? Can I, you know, if I open this, am I going to be somewhere else is going to, you know, be an issue. This one, I don't suspect that most of you are putting life-size reindeer in your living room currently, but just in case you were considering it, that could be a big issue if you're having issues with distinguishing reality and decorations. A lot of the things as you're kind of thinking about decorations are going to be the same principles as the basic kind of dementia-friendly physical space suggestions. Lighting, floors, sound, physical arrangements of room. With the lighting, has anyone seen the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation movie? And he has these lights, and the neighbors, when he turns them on, are just completely blinded and stumbling through their house because they're so bright. We don't want to be on either extreme of those. We don't want to have things so bright that it's going to cause an issue. We don't want to have things so dimly lit that you're much more likely to be stumbling. The blinking lights can be an issue for a lot of people, either with startling or just vision and trying to figure out where I'm going, and these lights are like going off, or just distraction in general. The flooring, what?
Those blinking lights for all of us.
It's, yeah, the blinking light. Like if you're trying, especially, at night, and you're trying to, like, what is, turn them off or on, do something. Like, yeah, it can be, annoying for all of us. So keep that in mind. Again, those things that kind of play music or make noise either on timers or motion activators and are all of a sudden may or may not just flip on sometimes are going to be a likely source of stress. The flooring, mainly just don't have stuff all over the floor that's going to be a fall risk, kind of goes with the physical arrangement. We don't want to do so much decorating that we are completely like relocating. They're used to, the furniture is here. They're a lot more likely if we're like completely relocating some of the bigger pieces of furniture to move things in and out. Making sure that there aren't, lights, cords across the ground, the basic kind of fall risk things. Not a lot of clutter all over the floor. These just examples, any of us, again, this would stress most of us out. If this is our normal living room and we're expecting to come into this is what is familiar to us, this is my comfortable space, and then I walk in and it's like an unrecognizable room. It's too much, don't overdo the decorations to where it's like unrecognizable spaces. If you are, and we'll go into, you can absolutely decorate. We'll get into that more, but keep it familiar, recognizable. Add changes gradually, not necessarily all of the decorations are coming out all at once. Maybe a couple things today, and then a few days later, a couple more things come out. So it's not a complete new space when they walk in. Again, we just want to relax. I'm going to go to my favorite chair and watch TV, and we walk in and like, where is the TV? How do I get to my chair? Keep it simple, keep it familiar, keep it comfortable. Some of these I'm guessing are fairly obvious, but sometimes we don't think about it. Again, it's kind of going in with fresh eyes. It's like when someone is coming over and you're like, has that cobweb always been there? It's been up there for a week and I didn't notice it till someone was coming for dinner, and now, going in with those fresh eyes of, okay, what might potentially, be out that I shouldn't have out. Not that you obviously can't have, ceramic tree out, and again, it's going to depend. If you have it on a runner, on a table that, a small table that if you bump into it is going to get knocked over, don't do that. Have them in place, either don't have them out or have them in places where they're not likely to get bumped into. Avoid flammable things as much as possible. If you're going to put out a snow globe, don't put out the glass snow globe with the ceramic base on there that can also get knocked over. Things that are easily breakable, try to avoid those as much as possible. And again, this really is going to be more important the more advanced that it is. Some people in the earlier stages especially are not going to have as many problems with that, and it's not going to necessarily be as much of a concern. Yes, you can definitely still decorate. Some kind of ideas on the next few slides. Wreaths, ribbons, garland, things that are pretty simple, there's only so much that you could do, even if everything went wrong with a ribbon. That's not, like, there's really no worst case scenario if someone gets their hands on a ribbon. We're pretty lucky at this point because there's so many flameless things that are out, and a lot of them are still really pretty, but flameless candles, flameless fireplace logs, things that really aren't flammable, but they are not, if we just want something that's kind of nice to look at and we want to still have that same kind of atmosphere, we can use flameless things. Stuffed animals, plush decorations that aren't breakable are a good option. You want to have the snow globes, have the plastic ones that are harder to break and, $2 to replace if they do break. Have the, you can still have those out. The trees, just not as many breakable little ornaments on there, still plenty of things you can do. The last one I put, I found some cute ideas for, if the person likes to knit especially, that's perfect because that's a whole nother, some of these kind of go into some of the activity ideas. It's like making your own decorations is its own activity a lot of times. We can make alternate decorations. That's fun in and of itself, and then we get to use those instead of some of the breakable and the flammable things. So yeah, little knitted ornaments on there, are a good option. The lights, just regular lights on there, things that aren't easily breakable. Stockings, obviously. Again, there's no real worst case. Maybe something gets put in the stocking. Stockings are a pretty safe bet. They're, no one's getting hurt with a stocking. Making plans and meals here. So there are two slides on this. One, the only suggestion that I have, and then we'll go into the rest of them, going in with realistic expectations, both for yourself as a caregiver and for the person who is living with dementia. We're not going for perfection. This is, we're not going for creating a Hallmark movie here. You don't need to be everything to everyone. You are not going to be capable, realistically, of being on all the time, trying not to overexert or overbook yourself. Everything. You might not be able to do all of the traditions. You might be able to do some of them, but not in exactly the same way. Going in with those realistic expectations and keeping in mind that even during the holidays, you will still be human. You will still get tired at a certain point and don't, keep pushing beyond that point because you need to do this, this, and this. You still need to have that time in there for rest, for some level of self-care, at least on the, the basic. Are you eating? Are you staying hydrated? Are you, basic taking care of yourself. Monitor both your own energy levels and the person with dementia, and don't try to test how far you can push those limits for either of you before something bad happens, because it's not going to be far. Now we'll go into all of the other ones. So setting those realistic expectations, plan ahead. The more that you can kind of, don't go to an extreme with overthinking, but kind of having as many things planned out as possible. And a lot of the times this will include having kind of a worst case scenario plan as well. Okay, if I start seeing this behavior, this is when we're leaving. Well, this might be overwhelming, so maybe we'll sit in this area, so if we need to leave, we can get up and just excuse ourselves and it's not going to interrupt the whole thing. Kind of making some of those contingency exit plans before you go in, depending where you're going. With the food, balancing the food, this is a struggle, again, for most of us that don't have dementia. Making sure that you're still not eating nothing but, Christmas cookies and candies and this and that, making sure that there's still a balanced diet throughout the holidays. This is especially important, though, for the person living with dementia, because we know that affects, how we're thinking, how we're feeling, how much energy we have, how long that energy lasts is affected by what's going in. What's coming out is going to be affected by what's going in. So we don't want nothing but Christmas cookies and candy for a week, and then I can't figure out why they're acting like this. Oh my gosh, the same reason any of us would be acting like that after a week of Christmas cookies, making sure that they're keeping those balanced meals, still keeping, whatever your schedule is for regular meals and drinking throughout the day, things like that. For special holiday meals, don't overload the plate, serve reasonable amounts of food if you're serving them. Not rushing them is going to be a big one for meals, for preparations. It just takes longer to do things, whether it's conversation or eating, not rushing them, not gobbling everything down yourself and then everyone is waiting there for the, allowing them plenty of time to eat. Consider conversation at another time. And this, again, is going to be dependent on the person, but keeping in mind that for a lot of people with dementia, they are very much a single task at a time, and that goes for eating as well. If the task becomes the dinner conversation around the table, that is now the task, and they're not going to multitask with eating. Talking is going to be the task. So if that, especially if you've noticed that that's already an issue for that person that you know of, that can be something good. And we'll talk on the next slide about some kind of communication beforehand if you're having groups over, things like that. But maybe that can be a helpful idea. We're going to have dinner, and then once dinner is done, we're going to move to this area, and then we will kind of have the catch up and talking at a separate time. If sundowning is an issue, consider brunch or lunch rather than dinner time. You don't necessarily have to not go to a dinner or host a dinner, but if that's an issue, having it earlier, just shifting it to earlier in the day is going to help with that and make some of the behaviors a lot less likely to occur when people are there. Planning big meals, gatherings around what their usual schedule is, what their usual energy level is. They're functioning, their levels of energy, their need for rest are not going to disappear or dramatically change because that's these 2 weeks of the year, still going to be the same. We want as much as possible to keep the regular routine, plan things around. Well, they take a nap during this time. Maybe this is not the time that we should tell everyone to show up to our house to open presents. Keeping those routines as much as possible, letting them rest, keeping an eye on those things. If you are worried that a large gathering might be overwhelming, it might be problematic for either of you, some people will kind of break it up into different, we're going to have a few people come over on this day or a few people come over at this time, and kind of breaking it up into smaller groups instead of everyone coming over. Sometimes someone else can do it too. Keep in mind, you don't always have, well, I always host the thing. Wonderful, maybe it's someone else's turn this year to host at their house, and we can attend, we can bring something, but everything, we're not going to be hosting, we're not going to be making everything. So, keep those things in mind. Travel, are we going to someone else's house? Are we going to someone else's house out of town? What are the considerations for are they going to be really unfamiliar? Is this somewhere they've been before? Is this going to be confusing to them? Whatever activities that we're going to be doing, wherever place that we're going to go, again, going in with that exit plan if needed, designating a quiet place in that area where if they start getting confused, they start getting agitated, this is the room that we're going to go to. If it is, if we're coming to church event, maybe we're going to set that up beforehand. Hey, if this happens, what area am I taking them to? Someone's house. if this happens, is there a bedroom, that's relaxing that we could go to if we see this, to where we don't have to interrupt and try and figure things out in that moment. Having those things ready. Taking an agitation kit, if you don't already have one. Basically, an agitation kit is going to be very different, and there are different names for them too, but it's going to be very different for each person, and it's kind of what is calming to them. And it's like a physical kit that you're putting together of things that you find that they like doing, that kind of calm them down, that kind of keep them busy. Some people will have like fidget toys in there that they can just kind of mess with, little mats that have different textures or zippers, tactile things that they can kind of manipulate and play with. The seek and find with like little objects and rice, and they can kind of look through the things that they're starting to get agitated. Let us pull out this kit and do this activity, and we have things on hand instead of trying to scramble and figure out like, okay, what can we do to redirect this? We have like kind of a little kit, and that is all year round helpful. If you can make a little agitation kit for either preventing it, or when I start seeing these early symptoms, that's when we're going to introduce some of these, rather than waiting for them to ramp up and then trying to redirect when they're here.
Can you talk a little bit more about that agitation kit?
Yeah, so it's really, there is no like, this is an agitation kit. It can be a reusable shopping bag, a paper bag, a plastic bag, a backpack, whatever, a purse, but just objects. Some people find like coloring calming. So I'm gonna stick a coloring book and some colors in there so we can pull those out. Like little kaleidoscopes, little mini like lava lamps. Some people, will just sit there and do, and that refocuses that attention for several minutes, sometimes much longer than that, but it's something that just kind of, now I'm doing something, especially when I'm getting agitated, there's this kind of extra energy, and it's redirecting that focus and that energy into something. So a lot of them will have like the bubble pop things, or moving things around, manipulating, like tactile things are pretty, different options that you can have in there. But yeah, anything, and as you find things that, oh my gosh, they're really enjoying okay, stick that, that we're getting another one of that, or we're putting this one in there, and just building that, and that can be good to take anywhere, and just kind of have that on hand when we're going somewhere that they're likely to, get agitated. And if they start getting agitated, or just having in the house and they're sitting here getting agitated, we have this thing. Yeah. The communication tips, if there is going to be a gathering, whether it is at your house or someone else's house, it is really helpful to communicate in advance. Let everyone know kind of what they might see. This is what they're experiencing right now. These are some of the behaviors that they have sometime. These are some of the symptoms. If you notice him nodding off, it's not because he's bored or he's being rude. He just nods off frequently. You might see that. This is the daily routine. This, I would say, is especially important if people are going to be like staying at your house, or you're going to, stay at someone else's house. Letting them know how important it is to kind of stick to that routine as much as possible. Why is it important? Routines really, really help people with dementia to reduce some of those symptoms, reduce some of that agitation. The more predictable of a routine that we can stick to, the better that they're going to feel, the easier that this is going to be. The communication tips. So these are, there are a lot of communication tips out there. I would say one of the biggest, to kind of reiterate, because you're not going to be able to usually have people, well, here's 10 to 15 communication tips. If there are things that are particularly applicable that you found that work really well, if he says this, say this, you can share those. Being patient. Give them time it might take them a while to respond. You might not completely understand what they say. You know, this is how they respond well if you say this, or you just kind of smile and nod, or not arguing or correcting is going to be a big one for people who are not used to dealing with someone with dementia, because our natural inclination, if someone says something that is completely incorrect, is going to be like, no, it's not. It's 2024. What do you mean? No, it's not, you know, and we're going to try to correct them, and letting them know in advance, like, that is not only not going to work, but it, you know, is likely to cause some argument between the two of you, or not going to convince each other. Just, you know, smile and nod, go along with whatever they say, is going to be one of the biggest communication tips. If they're asking for, is there anything you need? Don't say, oh no, we don't need anything. You know, if there are, he can't have this food, he'll try to eat it if you have it out. Don't have these objects out. You know, if there are things that need to be considered, don't try to, oh, well, I don't want to bother them by mentioning this. You know, be clear to prevent some of those problems. Having activities, if they're asking about gift ideas, if there are specific gift ideas that you have in mind already, the more clear and specific that you can be, the more it's going to prevent problems. You know, it's like, you know, when you have toddlers and people are like, oh, I got him a gift, and it's a drum set. You're like, thanks. Now I get to be in the house with a toddler with a drum set. Thank you so much for this wonderful gift. You know, be clear, things that they cannot have or things that would be nice. Some of the popular things are like photo frames or photo albums that they can maybe, put pictures into, things that they enjoy doing, the coloring or the activity books, kind of relaxation items, favorite scents that they have, maybe like a diffuser or music players, or making, a really low budget one. The grandson wants to do something make Grandpa a playlist. These are his favorite artists. You create the playlist. Grandpa doesn't know how to do this. I don't know how to do it. Make the playlist and show us how to play this. That is a pretty excellent gift. Music really, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, but music can really change, the feelings and the environment, and really turn people around if they're feeling very agitated. So, and that is a free gift, or a subscription to something that they enjoy, craft, hobby supplies. Again, the more that we can kind of prevent, what does this say? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It's kind of the same thing. The more that we can kind of prevent things from happening, we're going to prevent arguments that aren't going to go anywhere by telling the people don't argue with them. We're going to prevent getting a drum set by telling people don't buy these things. These are the gift ideas that would be helpful. The more that we can kind of prevent, the better. And then going into some activity ideas, because we don't want to just focus on, well, we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't, or don't do this. Well, what if this might be too much? We want to still have very fun, dementia-friendly activities. And again, we want to keep in mind that those feelings, the experiences, are what are more important than the actual should we not do the activities themselves are kind of secondary to creating those good feelings and those good experiences with people that they love. So these are just some ideas. Games, cards, puzzles, charades, any type of kind of games. Wrapping presents, some people really enjoy those they still have that muscle memory of, how to wrap presents just fine, and sometimes they don't, and it's not going to look very nice, but it's like, well, that's something that they enjoy doing, that's something that's still kind of helpful, and maybe it's not going to look like it came out of the store, and that's fine. Wrapping presents, looking at or putting together photo albums, kind of nostalgic things, going through, talking about some of those things, telling stories. I remember that one time we did this in Christmas. We do want to kind of avoid really specific questions, like kind of do you remember that Christmas that we went to Greer and we got a mountain, we got a cabin up in the mountain and we did that. Not so much like quizzing questions, but I remember one time maybe they'll catch on to that and kind of go along and, oh yeah, and then maybe they won't. Maybe, some of the more general questions, a lot of the time they're still gonna like, what is something that you remember from, a Christmas when you were a kid, or, some of those kind of just general questions. Usually something, it might be something completely random, but something will come out. Those nostalgia things there. Some more activities, going to look at Christmas lights. This is the Winter Haven, picture up there at the top. Going around looking at either walking through it, driving through it. They have hay rides that you can go on through some of the things. Just going and looking at some of the fun Christmas things. Making cookies or gingerbread houses. We did at our last memory cafe, we did gingerbread houses and people loved it and they had so much fun. And I got these pretty cheap kits from Walgreens that had like a base that was already set, so it's not, if you've made the gingerbread house, trying to keep it together while it dries is its own challenge. And these included like a little base that you put the frosting in and then stick it in there and it holds it in place. So it was really, really helpful, really nice little kits. That was fun. Decorating different cookies. Making or filling out or sending Christmas cards, any or all stages of those, depending on the person's interest. Some people are going to enjoy an easy little art project. We're going to make our own Christmas cards to send out this year. We're going to, put whatever decorations on there. Or we already have the Christmas cards. Can you put the address label on all of these? I'll do the first one, just put it here like this one is. And that's something that's, repetitive, and a lot of people are going to do just fine with that, kind of putting those things together. Collages, art projects. There is, especially now with, the internet, there is no shortage of craft projects that you could find to do at home for Christmas or any other time of year. Lots of stuff, and a lot of it that you'll have kind of the supplies on hand to do them. Some of these kind of carry over from those craft ideas. If we're going to do kind of a ribbon theme, instead of the glass ornaments, we can maybe tie the ribbons. We're going to pick out some pretty ribbon, and then we're going to tie the little bows. Making paper chains, that's something else. Making the paper chains, stringing the popcorn or the berries, that's something else that's repetitive, and people, a lot of people with dementia will do pretty well with it. I'm just wrapping these paper chains around each other, I'm just putting the popcorn on the string, one after another, and they'll do very well with it. Homemade ornaments, they have, whether it's the knitted ones, beforehand if they enjoy to knit, or they have little wooden ornaments that you can paint or you can color in, and then maybe we hang those up, cutting out paper snowflakes. Reading familiar stories. We're going to read, the night before Christmas, and think, a lot of it will be familiar to them, and they'll enjoy those things in the same idea of kind of those familiar, singing and listening to familiar holiday music, watching those shows and those movies. And depending on kind of attention spans might be which shows and movies. Are we watching the 20-minute Peanut special, or are we watching the full It's a Wonderful Life movie? Might depend on the person and their attention span and how interested they are in it. But a lot of these movies are going to be still familiar to them. The music, again, is a huge one that you'll just see people like immediately, they recognize those songs, the tunes. A lot of times they remember all the words. Even if they don't remember the words, they remember, they can hum along, they can, whistle along. Those songs come right back to them. But again, just trying to involve them in as many, activities as possible, or as much as possible into even some of the stuff. It's like, okay, I have 100 Christmas cards to send out. This is something tedious that's gonna take me forever to put all these stamps on here. That's something they might legitimately just be taking off of your plate, and it's also something that is productive for them to do. So the more you can kind of keep them involved, but again, that nostalgia, the happiness, the love, the good feelings, the fun, the relaxation, spending time together, that is really the point of it. The specific activities are fun. They might not remember what specific activities that we did, but they're going to, those feelings of, oh, I had a nice time with my family, are going to stay for a lot longer than the memory of what exactly were we doing that I enjoyed so much. And that goes, the last bit here, I will kind of open up for discussion, and then we can do questions if you want. Any ideas that you guys have for holiday activities, or making adaptations to holiday traditions. Because again, we don't want to necessarily eliminate, well, we can't do it exactly the way that we used to do it. Are there things that maybe we'll do it for a little less time or a little different way, things that we used to do?
One thing that I've just realized lately is there are so many different kinds of puzzles out there. And simple puzzles, and some of them are really nice.
Yeah.
I was working with a 18-year-old special needs person.
We want to record your wisdom.
Yeah. It's that microphone right there.
Okay. Anyway, puzzles, different kinds of puzzles. You don't have to have a huge one, but she got so much joy out of that. And I have sent several puzzles off to people now because it was a group activity. We were all doing it. Mm-hmm. And, they have some wonderful ones of animals or memories. There's always these pickup trucks in these old ones, It just turned out to be a really idea that I hadn't really thought of.
Yeah, the puzzles are a great one, and that's another one that you can adapt very easily based on, what do they need, thicker wooden ones? Can they do the regular ones, but they just need 24 pieces instead of 100 pieces? And there are so many variations that you can adapt to people. Yeah, the puzzles are a really good option. Mm-hmm. Any other activity ideas or things that you have done that worked well?
Cutting snowflakes looks like really lots of fun. Nothing is more fun. Cutting snowflakes, cutting them, seeing, opening it up and seeing.
Yeah, and like things like the cutting the snowflakes, or there's no wrong way. It's like, I didn't do it the right way. They're still going to come out as something, and whatever it is, that is fine. Yeah.
I used to help kindergarten classes make gingerbread houses, and we made them out of graham crackers and frosting and then little candies. Mm-hmm. I think that would be fun to do with a group of people with dementia. Yeah. Or even at home. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the gingerbread houses or graham cracker houses, whatever is kind of on hand, and it's more about the process of it than, again, is it going to look like the picture on the box? Or probably not. It's still fun to do, though, and it's going to be cute regardless. Yeah.
Just one other thought that, I also had is just limiting the size of the group. If you've got 10, 12 people, that may be too many. Mm-hmm. So in our family, we got that situation a little bit like, okay, let's just have 4 people here one time, and then maybe a few days later have another 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever. Just not to be so big and overwhelming for them.
Yeah.
So,
Or maybe making your gift exchange on Christmas Eve instead of Christmas morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't have to be, we always do it at this time. Well, they're asleep during that time. This year, we're not going to do it at that time. It doesn't have to be on Christmas Day. It doesn't have to be at the same time as always. Yeah, when it is most convenient for us, when they're going to be at their best, this is when we plan it. Yeah, that flexibility is really helpful. Mm-hmm. Other comments or questions?
Well, Nicole, we wish you came with some ideas.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, I didn't have more, yeah.
We just went through the graduate program.
Yeah, we just went through graduate school on, yeah, so no, you've obviously done a lot of thinking and work about it. And also just, it'd be great to pick your brain a little bit about Memory Cafe. We've got some of our Memory Cafe people here too, but all of these things of ways that we're learning, I think, in a learning process about how to have socializing with people with memory loss, yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of it is going to overlap. Things that are fun at memory cafes are usually fun at home. Also, we did the the gingerbread houses, and then we did little snow globes where I just bought some little miniatures, and then we glued them inside little jars. And then once they were dry, then we added like water and the fake snow and everything, which was fun. But we had leftovers, and I took them home, and it was just as fun to do by myself at home. So it was, things that are fun at the memory cafe. These, whether it's at a gathering or it's just the two of us, and especially a lot of the time, it is such a different situation when you're a caregiver, and we think that we have to have a special occasion to do fun things. We have to wait until everyone comes over. Gingerbread houses, we can have time at, just the two of us at the house where we're gonna, put on the Christmas movie, or we're gonna do a gingerbread house, or we're gonna cut out snowflake. It doesn't have to be a special event that we wait or have a certain group for. Allowing yourself to do fun things without anyone else having to be present. Yeah.
My wife and I like to do adult coloring books, just at home, just
Yes,
something to
yes.
do. I mean, we're not at that stage yet, but it's just fun to do.
It's just relaxing. What
It
is
is.
and what is
Put on the-
relaxing now is still relaxing.
Put on the Christmas music and color away. Yeah.
Yep. And allowing yourself to do things that you enjoy too. Because even if the person that you are caring for could care less about a gingerbread house, if you enjoy making gingerbread houses, make a gingerbread house. Again, a lot of the time, just giving yourself the permission to do things that you enjoy doing, to have fun without it needing to be a special occasion or having to justify it to yourself. Just giving yourself the same grace and the same suggestions that you would tell other people to do, speaking to yourself the same way is a big thing. Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
Thank you so much.
No, yeah, thank you for having me out.
You'll be available if people want to linger and ask
Yeah.
questions.